Hey everyone, it's Natalie. So I got my voice back. I'm feeling better finally. I hope everyone had a wonderful spring break, or at least here in Texas it was spring break. Me and my son went to our home we just bought in Wisconsin and we just got back. But today I am going to talk about the coward husband. So when you are dealing with a coward husband, he is not protecting you. He is going along with his mother, fathers, or both parents' manipulative behavior, knowing that what they are doing to you as the spouse is dead wrong, is totally wrong. Now, your spouse knows what the parents are doing is disrespectful and hurtful, but he's in a place where he's not sticking up for you. Even though your partner might know that there is abuse going on, because your partner has normalized the abuse for so long, when the abuse is happening to you, they just kind of look at the situation like, well, this is my parents, not a big deal. But it is a big deal, especially if you come from a household where that type of manipulation, worshiping a person, normalizing someone's bad behavior is not prevalent. So you come from a home where maybe your feelings are talked about, maybe not, but I'm just speaking from my situation. I come from a home where if someone's upset with one another, we talk about it. And we will talk about it until we're blue in the face and we resolve the problem so we can move forward. But your spouse came from a home where if there is a problem in the family, especially if the narcissist created that problem, it is not talked about, and instead it is pushed under the rug. And when that happens, there can be animosity built up, especially in your part, because they're not your parents. Animosity built up inside you, and you have a feeling of like you're belittled. Like how you feel, what you perceive in the situation doesn't matter. And so the reason why the narcissist does this, instead of talking about someone being hurt in the family, trying to resolve that situation, the reason why the narcissist just pushes it under the rug, because they know they created the problem. And the narcissist does not want that pushed in their face. Like, you did this, you caused this, you hurt my wife, you hurt my husband, or maybe the child's hurt. And we need to resolve this, and I'm going to tell you what you did that upset this person, and we're going to work through it as a family and get over it and move forward in a healthy relationship. But because the narcissist likes to play the victim, right? They don't want to know what they've done that hurt someone. And that mainly because they know. And this is what I've always said, is that the narcissist has been using these type of manipulative, hurtful acts for a long time because they know it works. And so they don't want someone coming in and pointing out what they've done to hurt someone, because remember, they are the victim. So even if you came to them and said, you did this or that, you've hurt me in this way, they will start crying, they will start finger pointing, they will bring up old things that maybe you've done, or maybe things that traumatized you in the past that had nothing to do with them, maybe mistakes that you've made in the past that has nothing to do with them. And they will say, well, Natalie did this, this, and that. So why are you bringing up what I did to her when she's so much worse than me? They deflect, they gaslight, they use cognitive dissonance on you and on that situation as a whole to deflect the situation from what they did onto something that you did, when you're the one that is the victim, when you're the one that is hurt the most out of this situation. And when you have a coward husband who will not stick up for you and say, no, actually, mom or dad, you did this. It was really inconsiderate. You're not making my partner feel welcomed or appreciated or loved, and we need to fix this. They won't do that. Instead, what they'll do is they sit in the background and watch everything, and they stay silent. They stay silent. So you feel like you're trapped. You feel like you're in a situation where you can't bring up any of the hurt, or you'll be ridiculed and put down or blame shifted. And then you're also trapped in a situation where you're like, well, do I really want to bring this up? Because if you bring it up, it's going to open a door of conflict. And is it best just to let the narcissist have their way and you stay silent and your partner stays silent to the abuse, and then allow the abuse to continue to happen because you've stayed silent? Now, I know that sometimes in my videos, I say just stay silent, but this is not what I'm talking about. When I'm saying stay silent with your narcissist is when they're saying some nonsense. It's not necessarily hurtful, but it's manipulative behavior, and you see it. You can stay silent in that aspect of that conversation or that interaction with the narcissist just because you know they're wrong, and you can walk away with your dignity and pride and say whatever. You can say whatever you want about that situation or that person or whatever it is. I'm just going to stay silent to your ignorance and let you just think whatever you want. That's totally different from staying silent when someone is abusing you. Because when you stay silent when someone is abusing you, that abuser thinks they got away with it. And what happens, because they think they gotten away with it, is they continue that pattern and they ramp it up. Because they got away with this, they think they can get away with that. And when you're in this situation where you're like, well, do I bring this hurtful thing up that they did to me or said about me to resolve it? Or do I stay silent? No, you should definitely try to point out the narcissistic behavior that your in-law has been betraying. Because, not betraying, portray. So I know I have a southern accent, so excuse me. But if someone is showing you who they are and they're showing you that that they've gotten away with one manipulative behavior or one deception or one cruel behavior, and they think that they won over that situation, they won in the abuse realm. The next time they have an opportunity to talk about you or have an interaction with you, they will do something even more elaborate than the last thing they've done that hurt you. And so when you're put in a situation where this narcissist is constantly manipulating and constantly hurting you, I would definitely stand my ground and put boundaries up and say, no, if you're going to behave like this, you will not interact with my family. Not me, not my husband, not my children. But even though you might say that, when you have a coward husband, the coward husband will make excuses up. Excuse me. And it's kind of when you see your husband or partner, whoever, making these excuses up and normalizing their parents' behavior, it's really upsetting for you, because you know that your partner knows it's wrong, but because they've normalized it for so long, they're just letting their mother or father treat you like that. And so the question is, what do you do with a coward husband? Or it could be a wife too. It could be either one. Well, I can tell you from my own experience that when I was dealing with my husband, who is being a coward in this situation, who has verbally admitted to me that his parents were being abusive, but on the sly was allowing it. And when I say allow, I know I'm all over the place, but when I say he's allowing it, what he's doing is when your partner knows that you're hurt, but your partner still interacts and still hangs out and still goes out to eat and still visits the people that hurt his spouse, that is what I mean when he is on the sly allowing it. Because he is allowing, or I should say this, he is rewarding the narcissist bad behavior by being in contact with them. So even though your partner knows that you're hurt, you want to talk about what hurt you with the narcissist, but your partner does not address it with the narcissist and instead will go hang out with the narcissist, that causes internal conflict with you and your partner. And so when your partner is allowing the abuse by still staying in contact, you are put in a situation where you're angered. You feel angry about what is going on. And that anger can manifest itself into putting detriment in your marriage. Because here you are pissed off, trying to shake your partner and say, hey, stop being a coward, start standing up for me. But your partner's like, in a way, is saying, well, I do stand up for you. I do everything that you want me to do. I do tell my parents that they're being rude to you. But yet, even though he's saying that, he's still hanging out with his parents. It, in some way, he's condoning the abuse. He's saying, it's okay that you abuse my partner. You'll still have the satisfaction of me in your life. And that's wrong. You should never tolerate your partner rewarding the narcissist for the bad behavior, for the abuse that has continued to happen to you. And it's also happening to your partner. It's happening to you as a couple. But your partner, because he's normalized his narcissistic parent for so long, he honestly just does not see that big of an issue with it. They might say things like, oh, you know how my mother is, just ignore. But how can you ignore someone who is intentionally smearing you, manipulating your marriage, manipulating your partner, saying horrible things about you to people, like, the smear campaign, or just in general doing cruel things? How can you just say, oh yeah, that's your mother, no problem, I'll ignore it? How can you ignore that? You can't. And so you find yourself trapped because you're like, well, I know nothing will get resolved because I have a coward husband or wife. I know if I bring it up to the narcissist, they'll be blame shifting. So what do? Do I just stay quiet so I don't disrupt the family dynamic? Or do I say, you know what, enough is enough and I'm going no contact, or there's a punishment, or there's going to be some kind of timeout for the narcissist? And what I've done is I've cut no contact. There was several times that I did, but what I also used to do in the past when she hurt me is I would just completely act like she didn't even exist in my life. She was not being invited to holidays. She was not being invited to birthday parties. We weren't going to their house. If they invited us, we weren't going. We had excuses. And I just kind of isolated her in her own punishment until I saw there was some kind of, there's never remorse, but some kind of maybe a little bit of behavior change. But see, at the time, I didn't know that it wasn't a permanent behavior change. And so I would continue to allow this lady in my life after timeouts because I thought, well, maybe she learned now, maybe she sees it. But over time, I figured out, like, there's no change. Let me turn off this heater real quick so you can hear me. So over time, I just learned, like, okay, even though she might be behaving right now, it's all a manipulation. It's all a game because she knows, like, the narcissist knows when you're ignoring them. They know when they're in trouble with you. They know this. Will they ever, if they think that you're hurt, will they ever come and apologize to you and try to fix it? No. So what happens is they start noticing different behaviors from you, like you ignoring them, you not basically treating them like family anymore, having any respect for them or anything like that. They start noticing your behavior changes. And so when they notice that, they know, oh, they're pissed at me. And so what they do is then they start putting on a different mask. They start acting really loving and caring and kind and considerate and doing all this nice stuff for you and acting like a normal person. Let's put it that way. They're actually acting like a normal person. And so it tricks you. It tricks you into believing that these people have changed, but it only takes a short period of time before you find those behaviors returning. So the behaviors always return. It's just a matter of when and how and where. And so the best resolution to dealing with someone, especially when you have a coward husband, is cutting off all contact. And it's going to upset your partner, and there's going to be an argument over it. But you basically say, look, you're not sticking up for me. You're not standing ground. You're not telling your parents that I'm upset. You're allowing this. You're condoning this abuse. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But those people are exiting my life. And I'm going to live my life the way I want. I'm not going to be manipulated and fooled like you are. If you want to go along with their manipulation and you want to play their little game, go right ahead. But I have the right to choose who is in my life. And I choose not to have these narcissists in my life. And then after that, what you do is you literally grieve the loss of your in-laws and you move forward in life. If your partner chooses to have low contact with the narcissistic parents, let them. Just ignore it. You're going to literally pretend like the people your spouse is talking about are complete strangers to you. So you ask your husband or wife, please don't talk to me about them. I don't want you coming home saying that they would like to have dinner with me. I don't even want to hear how your day was with them. I don't want to hear anything. Please exclude me from that relationship as a whole. I no longer want to be involved. I don't even want my name mentioned in any conversation with the narcissist from now on. No more. I'm telling you right now, I am not tolerating this. If you think it's okay that your parents treat me like this and you want to continue that relationship, then we need marriage counseling. And you really do need marriage counseling. The thing is, too, is that you can't force your husband to cut contact with his family. Because in some ways, it's really not right to do that because you're just being almost as manipulative as the narcissist by saying, well, see, this is the internal conflict I have too. I don't want resentment from my husband towards me by me telling him you can't have a relationship with your parents. Now, the right thing to do that your partner should do is say, you don't treat my spouse with respect. then you will not have a relationship with me either. That's the right thing to do. But unfortunately, because you're dealing with someone who has been groomed since childbirth to normalize the narcissist behavior, it's harder on them to contact because it's all they know. It's all they know. And when you are sitting there saying you personally can have a relationship, like your spouse cannot have a relationship with your parents, that starts conflict within your marriage. And so what you can do is say, fine, you want a relationship with them? Fine, exclude me. And you move on. And it's going to be really, really upsetting at first when your partner's going over there to his family's house without you, and you're going to be left alone and, have time to think about what's being said and stuff like that. But there's got to be some really strict boundaries before your partner goes there. And you can make your own boundaries, your own rules. The best thing you can do, especially when you have a spouse that is in agreement with your boundaries, is to ask them to have very surface conversations. So they are not getting in detail or depth in your marriage, in y'all's life, in the children's life, whatever it is, that if they ask about the child, if they ask about me, you say, they're doing great. Thank you for asking. End of conversation. No more details about whatever it is. And I've said this in the past where you have to put a little bit of trust and a little bit of faith into your partner that they will stick with those rules and boundaries. Now, the problem is if you have a spouse, fortunately, my spouse sticks to boundaries, but the problem is if you don't have a spouse that does not respect your boundaries or respect what the rules that you lay out, those are major red flags that you have then. Because if you in some ways are allowing that relationship to happen with their partner, and then they're going and telling their parents your business, maybe fights, financial stuff, whatever it is, right? Maybe you're in organizations, maybe you're in school, whatever it is, they're sharing intimate details about your life. The problem is when you have a spouse like that, those red flags are so alarming that you need to go into therapy right away. Because if your spouse cannot stop blabbing their mouth about your life with the narcissist, especially conflict, and most of the time that conflict is due to the narcissist, more than likely, if you cannot fix that problem with your spouse, it will never be resolved. Meaning, you might have some very difficult decisions you have to make, because you have to ask the question to yourself, how long can I tolerate my spouse crossing boundaries with his parents? How much more can I take? Am I going to live my life like this for the rest of my life with my partner? Those are the questions you have to ask yourself. Is it okay that your partner is crossing boundaries and sharing things with the narcissist? Of course not, especially if you ask them not to. And I know personally, if my spouse was doing that, there's no way I'd stay. Because his parents have already put me through enough hell that I'm not going, especially if I exclude myself from that relationship with my in-laws, and then my spouse is going and telling the in-laws everything about me after the fact that they have abused me for so long. I'm just getting abused by my spouse now. So what would you do in that situation? These are questions you would have to ask yourself. I personally wouldn't tolerate it, and I'd leave. Because to me, I feel like, well, I'm being nice enough and, polite enough to let you have that relationship with your parents. So you should respect my wishes. And if you can't, then there's not a problem with the in-laws, there's a problem with my spouse. So it went from the in-laws to now it trickled down to your spouse. And if you went through all that abuse with your in-laws, why the hell would you put up with the abuse from your spouse? Because that's what it turns into. When they're not respecting your boundaries and all that marriage is lost. If you can't fix that in counseling, it will never be fixed because they are too manipulated by the narcissist to ever stop. And this is why it's important to educate your spouse on narcissistic abuse, narcissistic in-laws, and help them understand what boundaries are. And help them understand that their parent has a personality disorder that can never change. If you meet someone who has behavioral issues, right? They don't have NPD. They just have behavioral challenges. That person can change through work on themselves. They can change behaviors. But when you're dealing with somebody with NPD, it's not a behavior. It's them as a whole. It is their personality as a whole. So hoping and wishing and praying that your narcissistic in-laws will change their behavior is wasted, because once you understand a personality cannot be changed, you will understand their behaviors will not change neither. Look, it's already 26 minutes long. I'm just wanted to leave this message on here because I feel like a lot of us women, maybe men too, are dealing with a coward spouse who is in some ways condoning the abuse by awarding the narcissist with visits, talks on the phone. Maybe the children are visiting, which I do not recommend, because why should they bear the fruit of your labor? But anyway, I just, I think it's really important that if you're dealing with a coward husband, maybe they're scared. Maybe they're just too scared of the wrath of the narcissist. If they were to speak up or go no contact, maybe they're scared. It could be because they're intimidated by the narcissist. But I suggest that you get into marriage counseling ASAP. You could even get a life coach to help you, coach you in your marriage too, if you wanted. But I think it's really important to get a therapist. More, that's the most important. It's more important than life coach, because the life coach comes after the fact that you went to therapy. We are here to coach you in your everyday life. We're not here to get into the psychological aspects or trauma or whatever. I mean, we do touch on those things, but you have to get into depth of everything that's happened to fix, to resolve what is happening to you right now, so you can heal and move forward in your life and live a prosperous marriage. But that's not going to happen unless you get into the psyche of the person that's being abused. So anyways, peace, love, and harmony. I will see you guys later. Bye.